Hello, Dr. Vicki Peterson here. I wanted to talk with you today about a pharmaceutical company. It's called Alvine, and they're working on a drug for celiacs. And what does that mean, actually? You know, when you hear that a pharmaceutical company is coming out with some sort of a medication for a disease, you think, oh, magic, you know. Now I take this magic pill and I don't have any problems anymore. And the truth of the matter is that that's not at all what it is about. We know that celiac disease affects anywhere from 1 to 5% of our population. That higher number comes with added age. And what happens is the protein that's found in wheat, rye, barley, and some related grains actually destroys the small intestine, which is where you turn food into fuel. It's where you absorb your nutrients. There are a few different pharmaceutical companies and researchers working on drugs for celiac disease, but I think it's important to just remember what these companies are trying to accomplish. And it's not a bad thing, but I think it's not known. And that is that what they're trying to do is come up with a pill that one could take if one is suspicious that they went out to a restaurant and maybe they got some cross-contamination. Not that they sat down and ate a bowl of pasta knowingly, but rather that salad that they had, maybe there was some tiny speck of a crouton on it, which for celiacs is enough to make them miserable for a very long time. So I just want to make sure that we realize what we're talking about here. It really is something that if a celiac gets in contact, as I said, with a very small amount of gluten, that is absolutely enough to make them miserable for days, if not weeks, depending on their immune system and how much it reacts. So it is variable. But it's not to be able to eat gluten with impunity, sadly. So just want to make sure we understood that. This particular reference I'm talking about was actually a press release that was released by Alvine Pharmaceuticals. And they said another interesting thing, which is that they gathered together 200 celiacs and that over 90% of them complained of continuing symptoms, even though they were gluten-free. And we hear this a lot. I certainly see it a lot in my practice. And they made that statement, I think, you know, with the hope that their pharmaceutical, their new drug, would really take that number way down. And I think it will definitely have an impact, but I think more often than not, the bigger picture, and I see this much more often in my practice, is that patients are being very diligent. A lot of times they only eat when they prepare the food themselves, just because it's kind of come to that for them, sadly, and they're still having symptoms. And those symptoms are not coming from the fact that they don't know how to choose their food or they don't know how to cook their food in their own designated gluten-free kitchen, but rather what we like to call the secondary effects of gluten, and that is it's a group of things. So it could be hidden infections in the small intestine that are keeping the gut permeable and weakening the immune system. It could be cross-reactive foods, foods that have a similar protein structure to gluten but are not gluten. It could be frank other food sensitivities that the person doesn't know of. Dairy intolerance is very common. It could be nutritional deficiencies that are causing continuing symptoms, hormonal imbalance, toxicity levels. It doesn't go on and on and on. It's a finite list. It's not really that long. But these are the most common things we see secondarily to being either celiac or gluten intolerant that is at the cause of continuing symptoms despite being gluten-free. So nothing against the pharmaceutical companies that are trying to come out with a pill to counter those minuscule little bits of gluten that might come your way by accident. But I also just really wanted to touch on something that we see a tremendous amount here at the clinic, and that is that people are being very diligent, truly perfect, yet still have continuing symptoms, and I think it's more from those reasons we just mentioned that, as I said, we call the secondary effects of gluten. So if you know of anybody in this category that is continuing to suffer despite being very diligent, please let them know. They can contact me. I'm more than happy to help. Our destination clinic sees patients from all over the country and internationally. We are here for everyone, but my heart really goes out to those people because they're working so hard and they're continuing to feel badly, and it's not necessary in most cases. I'm not saying we're perfect and we help 100% of the people that come to see us, but we have a good high percentage, and that's why we're here. So I hope this was informative, and please share the information, and until next time, I wish you very good health.